This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. That's 855-450-3733. That's the number to get on the radio. You could be heard stations across the country by satellite to distant continents, all sorts of different things. It's amazing how far our voice reaches for a libertarian-esque radio show. Most of what you hear on talk radio is the same old Democrat stories, the same old Republican stories. Well, we talk about them too, but we
not
try
that much.
Well, they're always doing something of interest.
I think what we do with Democratic and Republican stories is debunk them mostly.
Right.
Often, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But
in
it's
studio,
not to say
it's
we won't
myself,
talk about
Chris,
And I'm Ian.
and nobody.
and we've got a couple things. Of course, if you don't have anything to talk about, we'll bring stuff up because we find it interesting, we find it compelling, and we kind of get the ball rolling that way. But you're free to call in at any time and change the subject. I mean,
Balls
this
will
is
roll.
Open Phones Radio. You can get us talking about whatever you would like. But I wanted to talk about this headline, and you see, here I go. I'm going to start off by talking about Republicans. How do you like that? Nobody.
Are we going to debunk them?
No, well, yes,
Called
we definitely are. So this comes to us from nationalreview.com. Headline: Only 4 in 10 Republicans believe Trump mentioned Biden on the Ukraine call.
Interesting.
Only 4 in 10 believe that he actually said the words that
That's only one word is Biden, but
that he released in a transcript, according to Donald Trump, a transcript of the call he released saying Biden.
And to make things clear, Donald Trump is among the 60% who say he did say Biden on his phone. So he's among the Republicans who are correct on this issue.
Correct, but 4 in 10 Republicans believe Trump mentioned Biden. 4 in 10 don't believe that he mentioned them at all. This story,
he's lying.
A new poll shows that only 4 in 10 Republicans believe that President Donald Trump mentioned investigating Joe Biden on his phone call to the Ukrainian president, even though Trump himself has admitted that he did. The Monmouth University survey was conducted between September 23rd and 29th, and the results were published on October 4th. Not only is this news itself a problem, but it's also a symptom of a much larger one. For far too many people, partisanship supersedes facts. And I guess that would be kind of the topic. I mean, I think I'm not the only one who has witnessed a change in politics over the last 10, 20 years. It used to be divisive.
It's not now?
It's hyper divisive.
Oh, okay.
I think we've taken it to an extreme where it has to be the only truth is what comes from my side.
Well, basically what I see has been going on is that there has been a polarization of politics that appears to be intentional. If you look at the news media, you don't see the news media pushing any stories of reconciliation or peace or compromise. It's all about our side good, their side bad, and it's coming from both sides.
I agree.
This is interesting to me as somebody who believes that Fox News and CNN are controlled by the same people and targeted to different audiences and pursuing the same objectives, because it says to me that what they want is a divided country, a country where we hate each other more than we hate our real enemy, the government.
I think there would have been a time where people would have said, "Nobody, you're a crazy person."
People still say that.
Oh, I know that. But,
But
I agree with you. I think you're exactly right. And I think the strings are being pulled on both sides of the aisle, and it just keeps us focused on the other half of the country.
Everything has had this surreal, unreal feel for decades now. I mean, the rise of Barack Obama from nowhere, the rise of AOC from nowhere, and then all of a sudden, they're all over the media. Where did these people come from? You know, well, we don't really know. They just suddenly, they got picked, and then there they were. And it's just, everything in the movie, in the news to me feels like a Hollywood movie more than it feels like reality. It feels like a narrative being played out.
I would agree with that, and it's felt like that for a long time, but I think it's more so now. It just seems like, you know, it does feel like the whole, like there's all right action, and both sides do their talking, and then all of a sudden cut. You know, and it seems like one big play that's being portrayed. The problem is American citizens lose their rights. We lose any freedom we've managed to, you know, grab a hold of over the last couple of years, and we lose more. And you know, and it's interesting, you know, ideologically, if people would just pause and just step back and put their partisanship on hold just for 10 minutes and look at what both sides are proposing, you'd really find out that people and parties aren't really that different. I mean,
both are evil.
They're evil, but when it gets down to it, you've got a couple, you know, lightning rod issues that will always be there. It's, you know, anti-abortion for the Republicans. It's going to be anti-gun rights for the Democrats. Okay, so let's just take those off the table. Let's put them over here, and we'll just come back to those, okay, just for a while. And then you'll sit there and you'll go, okay, it's a nanny state government. They're telling us what we can do. They're making us buy certain products. You have to do that. You know, where are the real differences?
Now, one thing I've always wondered, because those are issues that I consider pretty much irreconcilable, gun rights and abortion, in that if somebody regards abortion as murder, it's hard to say to them, just ignore it. It's none of your business. You know, the best result that I've had is, well, is telling them, well, you know, think of your church as your in-group, you know, and don't worry about what the other tribes do, because people in your church aren't going to be having abortions, right?
Right.
But the thing is, I think that abortion would be susceptible to a federalist solution, which would mean getting rid of Roe versus Wade.
Which should have never been decided in the first place. Yeah, it's a state's right.
I agree with that, even though I take a very expansive view of the Ninth Amendment. As a political thing, I think if the country is that divided as to whether or not it's a right, then maybe just let the states deal with it, and that way you don't have to be bent out of shape about what happens in California if you live in New Hampshire. Guns are actually susceptible to the same sort of treatment because, you know, the thing that we forget sometimes is that the Bill of Rights was never really meant to limit the state governments. The Bill of Rights became relevant to state laws only after the 14th Amendment, which said that the states could not abridge the privileges and immunities of U.S. citizens. So before that, Massachusetts actually had an established church,
right,
which I think is a terrible idea. But maybe if we let Kentucky or Georgia establish the Baptist as a church, all the Baptists would go there and, you know, not try to change the law where they are.
Right.
Not that there aren't Baptists who are perfectly libertarian and say, well, I'm a Baptist, but you do what you want to do, in which case I'm completely down with them. I don't hate Baptists for being Baptists. They're just an example of a sect which traditionally has worked very hard to turn the religion into law.
What do you think? I have a question for all of you. Are you more free or less free under Donald Trump than you were under Barack Obama? Are you more free or less free? I've got something to say about that, and I'm sure we can probably eke out an opinion out of nobody and Ian. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number, 855-450-3733. You can also hit us up on Discord. Discord is a very cool app. You can load it on your phone. You can load it on your PC, on your laptop, and just connect to us. You find out more at discord.freetalklive.com. Use your high-quality microphone, your high-speed internet connection, and you will sound like you are right here in the studio with us. The us in studio tonight is myself, Chris.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And the nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And I want to tell you about the Edge wallet. If you're getting into digital cryptocurrencies, you need a digital wallet, and Edge wallet is the one that I use. It is iOS and Android compatible. You can use it to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies. It's user controlled. That means you own the keys. That means you actually own your money. Not every wallet out there does that. There's support for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Stellar, many, many more. It's a veteran team. They have been building apps since 2014. They want to help you secure your freedom, and we want to help you too. We're going to send you to edge.app where you can find out more. That's edge.app.
I used mine today.
I did too. I actually helped a guy. It was interesting. Well, he had already had Edge Wallet loaded, but he wanted to know if there was a way he could create two separate wallets for his Bitcoin. He wanted to, have one to do something else with. Mm-hmm. And I said,
have
sure.
His wallet need it too?
Yeah, we'll just go into the Edge wallet and add Bitcoin again, and it will create another one. And it's still backed up just with a word instead of all the 12 words or the 24 words that wallets typically do, and it's still secure. So
one of the business owners in town does that because he owns two different businesses. So he's got a bar, and then across the street he has a convenience store, and they both take cryptocurrency. So he has a Bitcoin, a Bitcoin Cash, and a Dash wallet for each, all within his Edge wallet.
Right. It's so simple. Yeah. It's a nice feature.
Oh, well,
it's an interesting idea.
Accounting's going to, the money from one store is going to one wallet, the money from the other store is going to the other wallet.
So is it using a different derivation key?
Not to get too complicated, but yes.
Yeah. I don't know how they're doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it does it all automatically. It's, it's just create it, and there it is.
Yeah. Like my campaign wallet, I use Edge wallet, and I use Coinomi for a separate wallet, but I didn't know they could be enclosed in the same one. That's
you can do that
handy.
with Coinomi too. You can add more than one wallet.
I knew you could add,
but you can't name them. Coinomi doesn't remember when you if you were to uninstall it and reinstall it. You have to keep track somewhere of I've got this, and this. But on Edge, it remembers. If you log in on your Edge wallet on another device, you don't have to remember which wallets you had in there and reinstall them all.
I really need to write a little utility that I can throw my no longer used addresses and such in, and have this utility just watch the blockchain to see if anything ends up in there. Like somebody sends me money from an old business
really
card
old.
or something.
Yeah, God knows how many old wallet addresses I've gone through.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're talking about this story where this is according to National Review and Monmouth University. They did a survey, and only 4 in 10 Republicans believe Trump mentioned Biden in the Ukraine call.
Wait, 4 in 10 believe he did, or 4 in 10 believe he did not?
Believe he did.
So 6 out of 10 believe he did not mention Biden.
Correct.
So Trump is in the minority, actually. He's one of the 40% who believes he did.
Yeah, 40% of people believe something that came out of Trump's mouth. Now,
I don't believe most of the things that come out of Trump's mouth, so I can understand how that could be.
Now, and they talk about this, and they refer to it more as a symptom and a part of a larger problem. Now, this isn't to say that all Trump supporters are off their rocker. It just means that this is the point that partisanship has taken over. It's true. The majority of people are either for Trump or against Trump, and the side that they're on is the only thing determining their view on any issue.
Well, did they determine what level of knowledge people even have about this? Because, I mean, I don't really know all the details on this. I have not been following it closely. I mean, are we talking to people here, or the interview, or the polling company, or whoever did this? Did they talk to people who specifically said they've been following the issue closely?
I don't know. Maybe we'll get into it in the article.
We should probably
recap the issue.
At least this is the official story of the issue. We first heard of this when a person who described themselves as a whistleblower came forward and said there was this phone call during which President Trump put undue pressure on the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden for Joe Biden's son and his position on the board of an oil company, which was paying him $50,000 a month, despite his lack of any particular noticeable skills. And so Trump wanted this investigated. Well, Trump says, yes, I did ask the Ukrainian president to see to it that that the Ukrainian government cooperates with our government to expose a piece of corruption that involves officials of both governments. Mm-hmm. So really, there's no question that, yes, he asked for this investigation. The question is, did he do it for his own personal gain, or did he do it because one of his jobs is diplomacy? And if some foreign country's police force won't cooperate with your police force, our president calls their president and says, hey, get your guys in line. Get them to cooperate with my guys.
Did he hold something over the president's head, though? Was there some
Not
sort of...
explicitly, and this is an interesting thing. There was aid to the Ukraine that was delayed after this phone call, and that aid was later delivered.
Well, it had been delayed for some time, even though Congress had approved the aid package a couple months back.
So, but there was nothing said on the phone about this. Trump did remind the Ukrainian president that we, or the U.S. government, had done them favors, and I'm sure the U.S. government has done favors for every country and every government in the world. It hasn't done the people any favors. But and I'm sure that they expect quid pro quo for these favors. That's what they do. So I don't think that anything that happened here, I think it was very convenient that there was a legitimate reason to investigate Joe Biden's son for Trump, but I don't think Trump necessarily did anything wrong in this case.
Doesn't sound that way to me, but like I said, I mean, you just probably told the story more deeply than I've even heard anything about it so far. So I think a lot of people just know the bare minimum about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I would advise anybody who wants to understand the issues is watch CNN, watch Fox News. Don't believe either of them, but try to triangulate the truth.
Not always easy. 855-450-FREE. What do you think? 4 out of 10 believe what he said, and 6 out of 10 don't. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk.
Divvy is crypto made easy. Anyone can use Divvy to securely and seamlessly spend, earn, store, or exchange digital money, the U.S. dollar, and euros. Divvy is fast. Transactions happen in seconds with fewer fees. While other altcoins are languishing, the Divvy price has risen substantially against BTC. Now's the time to make a switch to Divvy, or make your start with cryptocurrency with Divvy. Visit DivvyProject.org. Divvy is crypto made easy. Plus one-click master notes. DivvyProject.org. Again, DivvyProject.org.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. 855-450-3733. That's the number to call. And weigh in if you would like to weigh in on this poll that was released by National Review today. Only 4 in 10 Republicans believe Trump mentioned Biden on the Ukraine calls, which he did, and he says he did, but only 4 in 10 people believe that actually happened.
4 in 10 Republicans.
4 in 10 Republicans. Thank you.
It would be interesting to read what the actual question was.
I agree with that. I agree that it does bear, and I don't have access. I haven't looked up the polling yet. But I think the overall point is are facts secondary to the spin? I guess that's the question, are facts secondary to partisanship? Does all this take a back seat? Because we're not talking about was Trump guilty of trying to coerce the Ukrainian president. They're just saying, do you believe that the call actually happened?
Well, no. Do you believe that Biden was discussed on the call, I think?
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Okay. But Biden's name was mentioned.
But they could listen to that. They could read a story about it. Maybe it's a distrust of media. That's what this represents, too.
Well, the other interesting question is they say Biden's name. Did they say a first name? Because it's quite possible that Hunter Biden was mentioned and that Joe Biden was not mentioned, or vice versa. I don't know the answer on that. I suspect that Hunter Biden, who was the subject of the investigation, was almost certainly mentioned.
Well, how about I do this? I just take a step back and kind of simplify it. People were asked if Trump had a call with the Ukrainian president, and in it he mentioned Biden, be it Hunter or be it Joe. It doesn't matter. He just did. Do you believe that call took place? And 4 out of 10 Republicans said no.
Okay.
So I think we could easily get down in the weeds. And I agree, it's interesting to find out what they asked, because this, as Ian points out, this may just represent voter ignorance. But I think
voter ignorance, but the strange thing is that Fox News is not denying that. I guess my question is, where are these people getting this story that they're interpreting it that way?
Or are they just convinced that this is just the fake news? This is media. Yeah. Look, they've even gotten to Fox now.
It can be fake news without, even if the word Biden was mentioned, because there doesn't seem to be any evidence of motive, and motive is vital in this case. I mean, we know that somebody benefited from a thing, but you can benefit from a thing without doing it because you benefited from it, and without doing it solely because you benefited from it, which, certainly, if I'm running for mayor against somebody, then he benefits if I get arrested.
Well, at this point, you can't even say that but there hasn't been a presidential candidate picked for the Democrats. So it's not like Trump knows for sure it's going to be Biden.
Right.
I don't think there's any I don't think they can do anything to him about this, really.
That's actually an excellent point, because Biden is regarded, by me at least, and I think by a lot of Democrats, as an establishment candidate who's least likely to be able to defeat Trump. Mm-hmm. He's almost the next Hillary, and so it could well be that there was no real benefit to Trump, even if Biden does get knocked out, because that just means that maybe he'll have to face a more difficult candidate.
That's interesting. That would be fun.
If I was Trump, I would be scared of Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, except Tulsi doesn't have very high polling at this point.
Right.
Biden
but if she did get in, I think she's the one most likely to defeat him, because, a lot of people voted Trump because they wanted a humble foreign policy, just like they wanted from W. And yet again, they didn't get it.
I don't know why people voted for Trump. I assume it was a desire to see another season of The Apprentice.
And they
Unfortunately,
have.
now it's the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
The story continues.
He's only one ring of this circus.
Right. Many people on Trump's side have, whether they're conscious of it or not, simply written off any negative information about him as, quote, fake news, unquote, with this kind of mindset, why would they ever bother to click on a headline from, say, the New York Times reporting that Trump had mentioned Biden in the call? They might have been able to see that Trump had, in fact, admitted to it, but many would never get that far. They have already decided that in their mind, the Times is a fake news source and therefore not worth considering. Also, for the second reason...
I consider the Times to be a fake news source, but I read it because I want to know what they want me to believe.
Right. Also, for the same reason, they may not trust it, even if they didn't get so far as to read it. In short, if it's favorable to Trump, they believe it. If it isn't, they don't. Now, this isn't new. The same thing was true of Democrats under Obama.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think that's definitely true. The interesting thing is that they've completely missed the point of the story, which the contention isn't even about what they think the contention is about. So, the contention is about whether or not what Trump said to Biden or said to the Ukrainian president was a.
That's the actual story. But according to this,
and I've been dragged into this. There's no telling where the news is going to go. The Ukrainian president's claiming I pushed him.
If 60% don't even believe that there was
nobody pushed me.
If 6 out of 10 don't even believe there was a call, then why wouldn't they just be completely opposed to the idea of looking further into it?
What this question really was, because your interpretation of it has been very dynamic. We've been going back and forth between not believing the call took place and not believing that Biden was mentioned, and now I want to know which it is.
Well, as I'm trying to find the answers and the questions. This is the only link I have to more of the story and the survey found. We'll get into that, and we'll pull up exactly what
survey?
It was. Monmouth University, I believe.
Oh, okay. I don't know how they publish.
We will dig up those so we can get down to it. But I think, like I said, I don't think this is a one-off or it's based on a tricky way that the Monmouth University pollers asked a question. I think it's just indicative of people's innate desire to find something wrong with what the other side is saying. I don't believe it.
That and the Trump voters feel very much besieged by the media, and not unjustly. If you look at the difference between the coverage of Obama and Trump, anytime there was a matter of doubt in the Obama administration, the media took the most charitable view to Obama and published it as fact. And anytime there's a point of contention in the Trump administration, the majority of the media takes whatever is said about Trump and publishes that as fact.
Now,
without any question. And, they slip in spurious words like saying these unfounded allegations where they don't know if they're unfounded. They only know what they've been told.
Well, another fact is that I can't remember the exact numbers, but it is a majority of the mainstream media has a liberal political bent.
Oh, yeah.
That is a fact, and that's been repeatedly
and personally, I think
investigated,
Fox News is designed to make conservatives look stupid.
855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That is our toll-free number, 855-450-3733. We have been talking about this poll that found that, I got to look back at this every time because I always get it backwards, 4 out of 10 Republicans, only 4 out of 10, believe that Trump mentioned Biden in the Ukraine call. This is the cornerstone of what the impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives is. It is that Trump mentioned Biden in a call to the Ukraine. This has been widely reported, and Trump has came out and say, yep, here's the transcript that we're releasing, and yep, I said Biden.
Which, respect to him for responding that way, although I would have respected it more if he had released the audio
Agreed.
tape. Has anybody debated, has anybody said that the words on the transcript are inaccurate? Is that among the Democratic talking points?
Well, not yet.
Okay. Because that is an obvious vector of attack to the story as well. You published a transcript that somebody typed out. We don't know that they typed the truth. Of course,
Sure.
with deep fakes, they can't even really prove anything with a recording.
Correct.
And with Trump, you can deep fake anything.
Yeah, he's got so much voice out there.
And video.
And video, sure. As a matter of fact, that would be fun. Maybe I should get Trump and Clinton to deep fake endorse me for president or something.
So 60% of Republicans don't believe these things that the president himself said that happened. 60% don't believe that. The story continues. Of course, there are many people who would see these surveys and just chalk it up as Republicans being brainwashed idiots. But those people would be wrong. After all, the fervent left has also proven to be lost in its own partisanship-induced fog. For example, do you remember when Trump dumped all that fish food in that koi pond during a visit with the Japanese prime minister? I don't know. It showed him dumping a bunch of fish food in there, and the left just went nuts. Oh, my God, how disrespectful. This is our president. Look at him. He just, threw a bunch.
He doesn't know how to feed Japanese fish,
He doesn't know proper koi technique. So this made the news, and that became a big thing, and there were video clips of it, and the left was going crazy. But they didn't watch the whole video. If you went back further in the tape, not long, like 30 seconds before, you see the Japanese prime minister doing it exactly the same way. Trump did exactly what he did, because I imagine Trump probably doesn't feed a lot of koi, and he was probably looking for, how do I do this? So he watched the guy, and he did just what he did, but the left got a hold of it, and that
Clipped it out.
And
take out the context.
Look at what an embarrassment our president is. But, of course, the hyper-partisanship left has no need to bother with such things, because facts aren't what they're using to determine their views of issues. Their partisanship is. So it's both sides. That's the point. It's both sides. We don't care about facts. Yeah. You guys are asking questions about what really happened. I don't think anybody's interested in that.
Orange Man bad.
We are.
Yeah.
Nobody's interested. Nobody's interested in the truth.
Or Orange Man good. That's what it is. After all, Fishgate is far from the only time the left has done such a thing like this.
To me, the worst was the grab him by the pussy.
You're gonna
LRN.FM.
Oh, I thought they'd been saying that all the time.
Yeah, I don't think that you can say that on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got muted there apparently.
Grab him by the kitty comment, because basically he follows that by saying when you're a star they let you do it. Well, that is a report of consent. But yet the left has acted like this was unambiguously a confession to sexual assault.
Yes.
I
thought it was crass.
It was crass.
But again, they're going to make it whatever supports their team. But the Republicans do the same. The Republicans will do the same thing.
I just got bleeped off the radio for being crass. People do it. It's not disqualifying. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. People say things. People get grumpy and say horrible things sometimes, but it doesn't mean they're bad people.
But you will hear the same sort of selectiveness on Fox News as you will
Absolutely.
on MSNBC and CBS, on CNBC. But the question is, and it's not about the media. The media does their thing, and they're going to do their thing, and none of us can control unless we decide to stop tuning in. That's the only time you ever see change is ratings go suddenly down.
I think it is about the media. I think the media is doing this intentionally.
Right. But what happened to people thinking critically? How about just, trying to find out what you think really happened? If you don't, I don't buy it, and I always try to dig a little deeper.
The thing is, I've gotten to the point where the mainstream media, that when the mainstream media speaks, what I wonder is, okay, this is what they're saying, this is what they want us to believe, what really happened, because I think they're lying to me on both sides.
Well, to go back to what you said there, what happened to people thinking critically? Were they ever thinking critically? Because, the headline of your article refers to tribalism. And what is this, National Review? Who is
National Review, very partisan,
very
source.
Tribal.
Right.
Yeah. So, they're being not as tribal here. They're acknowledging
they're
that
being
the tribalism
fair
on
here.
both sides.
Right.
So, people are tribal when it comes to all kinds of things, right? Like you see tribalism in the cryptocurrency world, where there's certain people who are total fanatics or maximalists of one type or another. Former co-host Sam Dodson is a total Ripple maximalist. Nothing can defeat Ripple. Ripple is the greatest thing ever. It's the, God sent Ripple to save us all or whatever. And then you look at religions, and then you look at, we're talking about politics here tonight. Look at sports teams. The people look at their sports team, their team, and it's really mostly based on where they grew up. Like, oh, well, I love the Bucks.
Sure.
Because I grew up in Tampa, even though the Bucks year to year to year are completely different every single year, because there's always new players coming in and other players going out, and these players come from all across the United States. So it's not like those players even came from your area.
Here's the difference. 28 teams in the NFL, 26, 28 teams. Lots of different parties, lots of different factions. In the U.S., I got my choice of 2.
But the tribalism's still there, because you asked about critical thinking.
Right.
The fanatic doesn't think critically about the other guy. The fanatic doesn't think critically about, the person who loves the Patriots isn't thinking critically about the other teams or being fair to them. He's a fanatic.
Sure.
It's his team or the highway.
But now is a sampling of, 10 people, 4 people who actually believe it and 6 people who don't. That's a pretty distinct separation. It's, if you were to ask these 10 Republicans, for example, what's your favorite NFL team? You're going to get answers all over the board, and it's not really going to matter in anyone's life other than somebody who is completely psycho about football.
This doesn't matter in anyone's life.
Unfortunately, it will. It will.
How?
There will be bad things that happen.
What?
Well, for one thing, the people who don't believe that are going to defend the president badly. I don't know that that's a bad thing.
You will have a president. That's the point.
They're going to be basing their arguments on facts that are just provably wrong.
Exactly.
There's going to be a president regardless of how this turns out, so I don't understand how this
more to the point, anybody. There will be a bad president no matter how this turns out.
All presidents are...
They're thugs. They're bad people. They hurt peaceful people. So how is this going to affect anything?
I would hope that we can, at some point, begin to think a little bit more about what we do. I'm hoping to use things like this, stories like this, to point out that, you got to talk to your neighbors, talk about what's really going on in this country. And that can be from your point of view. That's okay. But, quit believing that you can only get your news. If you're a Republican, you can only get your news from Fox News. If you're a Democrat, you can only get it from CNN.
Yeah, try RT
no matter
for once.
who you are, you should be listening to Fox News, CNN, Russia Today, and Al Jazeera or BBC at a minimum.
You got to have something outside the U.S.
Remember that every one of these stations is still somebody's mouthpiece.
Sure.
Russia Today may tell the truth sometimes, but it's still Putin's mouthpiece. The difference is it's going to tell the truth different times than the state-controlled American media will tell the truth. Because they all just tell the truth when it coincides with their interests.
If it coincides. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450. This is Free Talk Live.
You will understand the true intent of the Founding Fathers when they wrote the Constitution if you attend this free webinar. Chris Ann Hall, president of Liberty First University, doesn't simply regurgitate what some professor or expert has said about the Constitution. She relays the thoughts and opinions of those who wrote the documents. Her straightforward, passionate, easy-to-understand style lets anyone grasp the principles of liberty. Join us at lfu.freetalklive.com for more details and your exclusive invitation to the free webinar on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Register now at lfu.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's the number to call and get on the air and tell us what is on your mind. What's important to you? What do you want to talk about on a national radio show? This is Open Phones Radio. You don't have to talk about what we're talking about. We've been talking about this polling that came out of Monmouth University that only 4 in 10 Republicans believed that Donald Trump actually said that he mentioned Joe Biden in a conversation with the Ukrainian president. Now, Trump has actually admitted to this. It was in what the White House released, yet 4 in 10 Republicans, only 4 in 10 believe that actually happened. It was a story of cynicism. It was a story of, I think, partisanship. And
it was the best of stories. It was the worst of stories.
I know. I was trying to go there, but I just couldn't. We're going to change gears, and we're going to go to nobody's home state. Are you originally from Michigan?
I am originally a Michigander. I'm only a New Hampshireite by temperament and immigration. And I'm undocumented, too, mostly.
And this news comes to us from Macomb County in the great state of Michigan, where the police are keeping you safe should you go back, or if you still live in there. Police in Macomb County out looking for shops violating the flavored vape ban. Oh, my gosh. So Michigan was one of the few states that has already enacted a ban on all flavored vapes. And I don't know if they've outlawed other things. This story gets into it. Macomb County authorities are on the lookout for retailers who are selling flavored vaping products now that a ban is in full effect in Michigan. Shop owners have had a 2-week grace period in which to educate themselves and comply with Governor Gretchen Whitmer's emergency rules, which cover products with sweet and fruity flavors, including mint and menthol. Now police in Macomb County say they're making the rounds with walk-ins, cadet stings, and other methods to make sure shops are complying with the law and not advertising or displaying flavored vapes.
Now, it says not advertising or displaying. It doesn't say not selling. That's interesting.
Is
that what the law forbids, is advertising and display?
I'm going to assume that they have a problem with selling it, too.
Well, I would think so, but
yeah.
I mean, sometimes they restrict advertising without restricting sales. They certainly have done that with cigarettes.
It's completely possible, but I think this did include sales,
My
too.
understanding was it did as well.
But tell me, all of you listening across this formerly great country of ours, are you free? You are, let's say you're an adult, maybe you even served in the military. Maybe you were one of those.
I can't say I'm free, but I can be had at a reasonable price. Maybe
you even fought for our freedom. Maybe you were one of those guys, yet you cannot, as an adult, enjoy a vape. Now, vapes hold a special place in my heart, particularly flavored vapes, because after 35 years of smoking, I haven't touched a cigarette in almost a year, because I found out that I could move over to flavored vapes. Now, there hasn't been any evidence provided by anybody that these vapes, tobacco, nicotine-based vapes, have done any of the problems that led to, a few hundred, I think over 500 people becoming sick, and I think 12 deaths, which seem to be tied to knockoffs coming from China.
And knockoffs of THC vapes.
Yes, and not at all nicotine vapes, but
and the thing is, the idea that regular vapes are involved in this, you would have to believe, because people have been using these things for 10 years, you'd have to believe that everybody used these things for a decade and then they all got sick at just the same time.
Well, not even all of them.
Doesn't make sense.
Tiny percentage did.
Yeah, but all of the people who got sick at the same time.
Right.
So it had to have been something new that was immediate acting entering the supply chain.
And a couple of the stories I've read on it, the Mayo Clinic was given samples to analyze, and they described the damage done, and a lot of the only thing they could tie it back to were THC vapes of unknown origin, and a couple kids said, "Oh, I never used pot. I only, smoked tobacco."
Yeah, a lot of kids say that.
Yeah, they do say that. So it's suspect at best.
Yes. But I suspect they're lying.
I suspect that too. What they did describe it as is almost akin to a chemical burn, and that is not what I get out of my vape. I haven't had any issues like that. That was funny because right then I started to cough.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. We're going to go to the phones where we've got Olivia calling in from Arizona. Olivia, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Chris. Hey, nobody.
Hey,
Ian.
Olivia.
I don't think Ian's in the room, but
no, we were too hot for Ian. He fell out.
So what's on your mind?
The vape thing. Oh my gosh, that's so frustrating. I wonder if people can still buy online. That would be my question.
Yeah,
just mail order it.
I don't know. I don't know if certain states are trying to ban that. If they're
Well, the thing is, it's very difficult to ban because basically the components, all of the flavor components, are commonly used artificial flavors. They're the same stuff you would put in grape soda or orange soda.
Or natural flavors.
Those can't be easily restricted, or it could be natural flavors. The base is either propylene glycol or vegetable glycerin, which glycerin is everywhere. Propylene glycol, I'm pretty sure, is commonly used. And nicotine is commonly available as an insecticide. So there's no way they can prevent you from getting the ingredients. They can just prevent you from mixing them before they're sold.
And they can make it a lot easier for people in black markets to find a market.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely, if they bring this to New Hampshire, I will definitely be selling some vapes on the black market.
They absolutely are bringing it to New Hampshire and to Arizona because Trump has promised that he will ban all flavored vapes.
Yeah, he promised he was going to make the Mexicans pay for the wall, too.
Well, that's true. In this case, though, he does have at least one federal agency behind him actually doing the legwork, and it's insanity. I can't imagine. Your thoughts?
Well, nobody. You'd certainly get my business. I'm actually using my Juul right now. I just open up the pods and refill them, so you'll have some business from me.
Right. Well, groovy. Right. I'm glad to hear it. Do you refill your Juul pods?
Yeah,
a lot of people do that.
Just like pry them open, and I use like one of those glasses kit, like a glasses repair kit, eyeglasses. Mm-hmm. One of those tiny screwdrivers, just pop it open. And I have to say though, Juul has the best quality, so I don't know, it's kind of what you want, volume, quantity, or quality. But I was gonna mention something real quick. These politicians keep arguing back and forth, and it almost gets to the point where I don't really care. They're gonna squabble with each other. But in Japan, they have something neat that's about to happen that I think I'd like to see become a new cultural staple here. that they're going to get a new emperor. Emperor Naruhito is supposed to become the new emperor in October 22nd,
Wow.
and they're going to pardon 600,000 petty criminals, which sounds impressive. But when you look at his father, or the previous emperor, Emperor Akihito, he pardoned 2.5 million people in 1990. And I'm like, presidents wait till their term is up, and then they're very stingy with those pardons. What if we adopted this? I think this is a great thing.
I'm going to put you on hold because we will talk about that. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's our toll-free number. You can also hit us up on Discord. Load the Discord app on your phone, on your laptop. Use your high-speed internet connection and your quality microphone, and you can call in and sound like you are right here in the studio with us. The us in studio is myself, Chris.
And nobody.
And we lost Ian. We didn't lose him. We know where he's at, but he had a long day, and he looked like he was about ready to drop, so he's getting some shut-eye.
I lost my job. Well, I didn't really lose it. I still know where it is. It's just every time I go there, somebody else is doing it.
We were talking about this story where, 4 out of 10 Trump supporters believe Trump. 6 out of 10 don't believe that he actually had the phone call that is widely reported. It's
I'll bet you could reverse that if you said, was Trump lying when he said he spoke to what he said?
And then you have 100%. Yeah, absolutely. No, he didn't.
Well,
Trump,
then the
Trump
Democrats would say yes, because is Trump lying would override the fact that he's not.
Exactly. How to have fun with pollsters. We've been talking to Olivia. Olivia was telling us about a change of emperor in Japan and what one positive thing has been. Olivia, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, yeah.
You were.
So, can you imagine? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to summarize what you were saying. The last time this happened, he's planning on pardoning a number of petty criminals, a large number, and you can give us the numbers again, and we'll take your word for it. But his father had actually pardoned way more than that. What were the numbers you had tossed out there before?
I'm looking at the news story is on thetelegram.com, and it says that the upcoming emperor on October 22nd, his name is Emperor Naruhito, and he plans to pardon 600,000 people. But Emperor Akihito in 1990 pardoned 2.5 million people.
Maybe they're running out of felons.
I guess so.
Maybe they only had the 3 million to begin with, and now they're out.
Right, they're going to round up some more.
But you know, these presidents always, or these candidates always promise, oh, we're going to cut spending, we're going to stimulate the economy. Can you imagine what would happen if all these people got out of jail? We wouldn't have to pay for them. Then they could get a job if their records were clean. They could get a job easily. This is a great, cheap way to fulfill some of these campaign promises.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then you can cut prison spending, and you can keep the people who really belong in prison in there longer, which, not everybody who's accused is falsely accused.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The U.S., we tend to spend our money, the bulk of our money, locking up people on nonviolent drug-related crimes, and that's really a problem.
Are you familiar with the idea of restorative justice, Olivia?
Is that where you try to rehabilitate people?
What restorative justice is basically, the idea is rather than focusing on punishing the perpetrator, you focus on making the victim whole. So maybe somebody steals $1,000 from me. The goal of a restorative justice system would be to make sure I get my $1,000 back, plus some extra for my trouble. Like a lot of people will say 20%, basically a 20% surcharge,
right,
because you put me through a bunch of hassle. And I love that idea for a few reasons. One is because, it doesn't do the victim any good for somebody to sit in jail for the rest of his life. That doesn't make the victim's life better. And also, it would be impossible to have victimless crimes, because what are you going to do? Pay restitution to yourself?
Right.
And exactly. That's so practical.
Restitution is brought up in criminal cases almost as and also you're going to. After we've said you're going to go away for...
it's the least important part.
Right. And it should be the most important part.
I definitely agree with that.
Yep.
Make people whole when they're hot. And while you're at it, as somebody who's I don't know how many of y'all are aware of this, but over the last year, I have been the victim of at least 3 false arrests and 2 malicious prosecutions for felonies. And all my charges are now gone. I beat the last one yesterday, but if I hadn't had, not to toot my own horn, but enough courage to stand up to these people and say, I'm willing to risk 3.5 to 7 years of my life to be right, I would have just taken the plea.
Right.
And that's very scary. Innocent people take pleas every day.
Every day. Final thoughts, Olivia?
No, you're right. Number one, that's a brilliant solution. That just makes too much sense, I guess, for our government to do. And number two, thank you for fighting these charges, because you're right. People do get terrified. I mean, 7 years with a strip search every day is pretty terrifying. So thank you so much for all your activism.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Olivia. Yeah, Rich, that's nobody. That's a big win.
It really was. I was delighted, and especially because if you think of the implications, if I had been convicted of being a felon in possession of a machete, basically that would have meant that a felon could not do any job where he had to handle anything hard, heavy, or sharp.
Right.
Because you can kill somebody with anything that's hard, heavy, or sharp.
Right.
So, that would have been a terrible setback. And the more you exclude felons from society, the more likely they are to break the law, because they're not going to comply themselves to death. If it comes down to comply and starve or break the law, I'm going to break the law every time.
But Michigan seems to think that it's going to be better to make more people into criminals.
Michigan's an idiot.
Michigan is. Michigan has enacted a ban on all flavored vape products, and in Macomb County, and that is where Detroit is?
Yeah.
Or close in the metropolitan area.
Yeah, Macomb County, I believe, holds downtown Detroit.
Yeah, the police have said that they are going to start, really busting heads. They got to really get in there and find out if anybody is selling any blueberry fizz, raspberry frapple vape juice, because, my God, think of the children. So they are going to come down even harder. Because only children would like
flavored vape juice. Like, what do you use? You use tobacco, right?
No, the first vape juice I tried was tobacco, because I was a recovering smoker.
Right.
And it was something I was familiar with. And guess what? It didn't taste good. So the guy at the shop said, hey, you should try this one, Sweet Tobaccocino. It doesn't taste like tobacco. It tastes like a cappuccino. And it's delicious. And it doesn't taste like cigarettes. That's what I wanted.
Are you pretending to be older than you are? Are you really 14?
At least. It's insane that people believe they can stop this stuff, and they won't. It's just black market. 855-450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
Hey everyone, this is Charlie Shrem. You've seen me on the Netflix documentary Banking on Bitcoin and the new best-selling book Bitcoin Billionaires. I want to invite you to join me on my new show, Untold Stories, for a deep dive into crypto history with the people who made that history. Together, we'll explore the personalities and events that gave rise to Bitcoin and the crypto revolution, the innovation, the collaboration, the battles, and the busts. You'll have a front row seat to the early days of crypto up to today, and you'll hear from the folks who lived through it and survived to drive this movement mainstream. Untold Stories looks back to reveal what inspired some of the greatest minds on Earth to come together to create this technology and change the future for everyone. So join me and my guests, the techies and the traders, the entrepreneurs and the innovators, as we explore our past and understand what that means for the future. Listen now on UntoldStories.com. That's UntoldStories.com.
This is Free Talk Live for 800-855-45. Jeez, I'm sorry about that, folks. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. That's 855-450-3733. That's the number to call if you've got if you'd like to get on the air and talk to someone with Lyme disease, because my brain is fine 1 minute, and the next minute it is
He's got
just
the lime in the coconut.
I do literally have the lime in the coconut. But first, I wanted to tell you about AnyPay, or HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. Do you operate a retail business, and are you looking for a solution for point-of-sale cryptocurrency acceptance? It's never been easier thanks to HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. There's no paperwork, no approval process for you to go through. You just open an account. If you already have a tablet at your cash register, you're almost done. Just visit helpmetakebitcoin.com and follow the simple steps. That's all you got to do. Within moments, you'll be accepting cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Dash at your store. Get ready and get started now at helpmetakebitcoin.com. That's helpmetakebitcoin.com. I got to say, our store does not ring up like, it's not like 70% of our transactions today were in Bitcoin. It's not like that at all. The acceptance of cryptocurrencies just isn't there. It's growing. I can tell you it's growing. I've been accepting cryptocurrencies for 5 years. So every month it's a little bit more. But still, people will mostly use traditional methods. So they'll use debit cards, credit cards, or cash. That's what the bulk of transactions are. But there is that percentage, and that goes into my pocket directly through AnyPay and HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. It's a great way to expand your business and be able to accept more types of ways for people to pay the way they want to pay.
And do you offer a discount when people buy with crypto?
I do 5% off. I do that because I don't have to pay credit card fees. It's virtually free when you use cryptocurrency. And basically, I want to accumulate cryptocurrency. Cash, U.S. dollars, there's no value in accumulating them because they're going to be worth less tomorrow than they are today. That's because fiat currencies like the U.S. dollar are inflationary. They lose value. That's why you spend $2.50 or $3 on a loaf of bread when you can remember in your lifetime. I'll bet you can remember when it was $1.50. I'll bet you can remember, maybe some of you, when it's 50 cents. I remember when it was a quarter for a loaf of bread. That's not that it's more expensive to create a loaf of bread. It just means that your money isn't worth as much as it used to be, and that's a shame. That's why Ron Paul referred to that as the hidden tax.
Yes.
The idea that you can, and it allows governments to fight expensive wars, so it's got that going for it.
Oh, happy day.
Happy day.
Taxpayer pride.
Exactly. We've been talking Macomb County, Michigan, where they say they are going to crack down on vape shops that are not obeying the authority of the governor, who has put a ban on all flavored vaping products. This is in effect now. They're going to use sting operations. They're going to send in young or older-looking cadets or younger-looking cadets to try to trick them up.
Cadets.
It's just insane. Right. Sterling Heights Police Chief Dale, the last name starts with a D, and we'll leave it at that, said his office has been inundated
Dale D.
with complaints from local schools about fruity fruit flavors and candy-flavored e-cigarettes in the hands of students. All right, Police Chief Dale, and I'll try to pronounce this, Dwaljakowski, and that's probably butchering his name. I don't think that your office has truly been inundated with complaints from local schools.
Well, they might have been if the teachers' union decided to get together and all call the police chief.
That might be the case. But are you really inundated with calls? Is that the most important thing going on? That you are
if he's
taking
getting
calls?
that many calls about kids having vapes, how many calls does he get about kids having heroin?
Right.
Must be millions.
Oh, God forbid. Yeah. Let's see. This continues. Quote, parents should be aware of those little pens they see in their kids' bedrooms. Little things that look like USB drives. They don't even know what they are. Those are vaping cartridges, vaping pens.
Or possibly USB drives.
Sheriff Dale D. Shop owners who continue to sell outlawed products early on will get a warning. With those refusing to comply will be slapped with fines and a 6-month misdemeanor.
When vapes are outlawed, only outlaws will have vapes.
Let's see. Pablo Isaac, who runs a vape shop in Fraser, said the banned products account for 70% of his business that can't be made up.
Right. So they're looking to shut down the vape stores.
They are, and by extension, the entire industry.
Right. The entire industry except the part of it that's being run by big tobacco.
Right.
And that's going to be, that's the whole point, is they want to give big government or big tobacco a regulatory monopoly so they can recapture the money that they were making, because there was they were making an awful lot of money off cigarette taxes and off the cigarette lawsuit that now, with fewer people smoking, the government is losing money. And big tobacco is losing money, and big pharma is losing money because fewer people are going to get cancer. And so they need to find ways to get that money back.
Well, and that's sort of the problem is, the facts are that adults and children, because they've got this down to the youngest ages, across all age groups, tobacco use has been falling, and it's been falling for a long time, and it continues to fall. This year is lower than last year. When you add in vapes, it is still following. Less kids, fewer kids are interested in inhaling something that has nicotine in it. That's just a fact. It's completely ignored in all the stories, but Reason.com has done some great work on breaking down the findings.
I love Reason.
Yeah, too few people do. Reason in general, not just the magazine.
Indeed.
Yeah. But this idea, and I think you're right. I think it's probably a little bit, some senator or some representative is, going to their tobacco lobbyist saying, "See, I told you we had your back. It's not going to be like it was before, but we'll do what we can for you." Yeah. Now, meanwhile, flavored vapes, and the UK has done some great studies on this, attribute more people quitting smoking, more people that have been smokers their whole lives or for a long time, to flavored vapes. The last thing I want is some government-approved thing that tastes like tobacco when it's tobacco that I want to get away from.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Let this dispel any remaining belief you may have that the government cares about your health. The government doesn't care if you die. They don't care a bit.
No, they also don't care about small businesses. And this is Pablo Isaac, who runs a vape shop. Quote, taking the loss as far as the inventory itself is not a huge issue, but it's not the inventory that's really the issue. It's the fact that customers that came in here to purchase that I sold, I lost also. He told Dewey. So now a business as a whole took a loss. Isaac says says officials claim they're concerned with public health, but there is an ulterior motive. What do you think? I mean, should these vapes be outlawed everywhere because somewhere less than 24 kids died? 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. That's the number you can call to get on the radio, 855-450-3733. This is Open Phones Radio. It is always Open Phones Radio. That means you can bring up any topic you like. And we don't care. If it's interesting, we'll talk about it. And if it's not, well, you brought it up, so you got to talk about it. And then we may not have talked about it. But at first, I want to tell you about
Could
local...
I punctuate that for you? It was, we don't care, semicolon. If it's interesting, we'll talk about it. Not, we don't care if it's interesting, we'll talk about it.
Fair enough. Nobody is our CEO, chief officer of punctuation. So when I miss something like that or make it questionable, he will pipe right up and let me. He'll explain it to you, the listener, because you probably didn't understand what the heck I was saying. And that's happening.
When I come for the grammar Nazi, I say there.
Oh, that was good. I want to tell you about local.bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy and sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or just meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. That's local.bitcoin.com. And we've been talking about this epidemic, this disaster of epic proportions, this national emergency. I'm trying to think of what else I've seen to describe the tragedy of somewhere
you mean
around
the pointless legislation epidemic.
Yeah, there we go. The government will have you believe that nicotine-based flavored vapes are to blame for all these deaths. By all these, I mean somewhere less than a dozen, and millions of people. By millions of people, I mean less than 600 people getting sick from, admittedly, smoking questionably sourced THC. That's the ingredient in marijuana that gets you high. THC vapes, and has nothing to do with tobacco. And
for the record, has nothing to do with THC either. It's vitamin C or vitamin A acetate.
Vitamin
that's being
E.
found in these vitamin E acetate.
Yes.
Yeah, just any old letter will do.
Yeah.
But that's being found in these vapes.
Yeah, vitamin E acetate is sometimes, first of all, it's used in things like hand cream. Important tip, just because you can rub it on your skin and make your skin soft doesn't mean you should light it or burn it and inhale the vapors.
Or vaporize it, which is what vapes do.
Yeah, and it's just insane. They have not conclusively found a link to any nicotine-based vape product. Now, nicotine-based vape products, they can be found on black markets too, but the problem is there really isn't a big reason to go on a black market for things that you, up until at least today in the state of New Hampshire, I can go into a store and buy legally, and I can choose which one. I can look for ones that are well-known manufacturers, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't have to take my chances with something I get over the dark net. And that's what's going to be happening. It's going to be another black market that actually does kill people. Yeah.
And the only real option is going, if you want to avoid dangerous products, then is going to be to buy the stuff yourself and mix it yourself, or get it from somebody that you really trust.
Yeah, you know? And I really do hope that this creates a little, home industry of people making flavors for themselves with products that they know. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the skill, you're not going to do it. I hope you don't do it. I hope nobody gets hurt by doing something they shouldn't have even tried in the first place.
Well, the biggest danger to mixing your own vape juice is that nicotine can be absorbed through the skin, and too much nicotine will kill you.
Yeah, it is poisonous.
So it can cause a heart attack. So be very careful to wear rubber gloves when you're handling large amounts of nicotine.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing that nicotine doesn't do. This comes as a surprise to many people, is it doesn't cause cancer.
No. All the other combustion products of tobacco cause cancer, right, but not nicotine.
Right. You can look at the tobacco leaf burning on fire and you inhaling smoke. Those things cause cancer. But the simple nicotine itself, as is found in a vape, that doesn't kill you. And this is some of the. I'll tell you, the UK. It's not often I give props to a government agency, even if it's not my government. But the UK Department of Health has done an amazing job in disproving some of the myths around vapes, and they've done it. They have now. I was reading last week or two. They have opened up hospitals as places where vape shops can now open up in England.
Nice.
So literally, it's not.
The Brits are wrong vapes about a lot of things, but once in a while they get one right.
This is one where, because they look at it pragmatically, they say that we have people that smoke cigarettes, and we know that kills about, in England, about 100,000 people per year. Mm-hmm. We have looked at vapes for about 10 years, and we can't really find. They're hedging their bets, and they're saying it's only a 95% reduction in harm.
And, it does show some of the differences in incentive between their socialist healthcare system and our capitalist healthcare system, because, companies do make a profit here off making people sick. The problem is, people won't voluntarily pay to be made sick.
Do you think we have a capitalist system?
Well, we have a more capitalist system than they do in Britain, where the means of production of healthcare are literally owned by the government, which to a Marxist means by the people. I don't know when the last time a Marxist tried to vote for a war to end. That should dispel that illusion very quickly. But the problem is, so the incentive there is to save money on medical care. The incentive here is to sell as much medical care as possible, but there's a necessary ingredient here. If the medical industry did not have the ability to use the government as muscle,
they do,
to enforce regulations, to ban vapes, to ban marijuana and ecstasy, which can be more effective as antidepressants than any of the garbage big pharma sells.
Everybody's against monopolies, but the government has no problem giving monopolies to big pharma.
Exactly. And when they become a cartel, they become a problem.
Yeah, that doesn't work for us.
And this plays out in the economic realm too. If you look back, Google Dr. Glut and look for articles from the 1980s and the 1990s where the AMA is saying there's going to be a glut of doctors. Now, of course, glut in industry speak means there are going to be enough doctors that doctors are going to have to cut their prices.
Right.
In 2017. So what did they do? They went to the government. They said, let's cut medical school enrollments by 17%. And that's exactly what they did. Well, what they did is they induced a massive shortage of doctors. And of course, when you have a shortage of doctors, what else do you get? High prices for doctors. So the AMA, although it pretends it's interested in your health, it's operating as a labor union and nothing else. It's trying to get its members more money, and it's trying to get its members more money by making your life worse.
Yes, and the AMA has been doing this for over 100 years. This is not a new thing. This has been going on. It's happened to reach its point of really doing some severe damage. That's been since the 50s. I mean,
is there an AMA office in New Hampshire?
Oh, I'm sure they must have lobbyists somewhere.
We should protest them if they have a physical place to protest.
Should we protest obscene medical costs at the AMA? 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Ike was such a sweet, lovable animal, and people would want to pet him, and they'd come up, and they'd get close to him, and it would be this instant, oh! My dad didn't want to touch him. It's like, ooh, get the stinky dog away from me.
Even after we'd give her a bath, she would still stink.
Very stinky, both bad breath and bad gas. I asked the vet, and he said some dogs are just stinky.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
The ingredients convinced me that it was definitely worth trying. After about a week, he started smelling normal. My husband and I were really kind of astonished.
Dinovite is nutrition.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's our toll-free number. That's the number you call to tell us what is on your mind. And any topic is up for grabs. This is Open Phones Radio. You can talk about whatever you wish. In studio, it's Chris.
And nobody.
And we used to have Ian, but Ian...
We lost him.
We know where he is.
It's true.
We do, but he's...
every time we go there, he's asleep.
He's a little tired. But I wanted to tell you about Balance of Nature. Good nutrition is key to looking and feeling great. However, eating right all the time can be a challenge. Travel, work schedules can get in the way, or you may not have the desire or time to shop and cook the right foods. Balance of Nature has the solution with just 3 of the Balance of Nature fruit capsules and 3 of their veggie capsules. You get 10 servings of fruits and vegetables, and that is a lot of nutrition. For a limited time, you can get free shipping plus a free set of fruits and veggies. Go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FTL. That's balanceofnature.com. Use discount code FTL and get some free shipping and some free capsules. I like them. What I have yet to do, and other people have talked about doing this, is taking the fruit capsules, sprinkling them on like ice cream. I have heard that is just a nice topping. Because there's all kinds of fruits. It's pretty interesting. We have been talking about, we started off talking about this article that said that 4 out of 10 Republicans didn't, or I should say 6 out of 10, didn't believe that Trump had mentioned Biden in a conversation with the Ukrainian president, even though he said he did. It was, I guess the story would be best described as a cynical look at today's American politics and its partisanship. But, it's the same thing. And before all you Democrats decide to say, well, that's because Republicans are stupid, Democrats, you've fallen for the same sorts of questions when they've been polled too. It's just a choice of people to believe mainstream media. I think that's our conclusion, and not really look for facts, because there's not a pretty news lady reading them to you. So we're going to go to the phones, where we've got Matt in Connecticut. Matt, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys, I just wanted to take issue with what you were saying about cigarettes. Now, my father died of cancer from smoking cigarettes.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It was actually emphysema. Yeah, he was a great guy, 80 years old. So I know a little about this. And if you actually look into it, both nicotine and tar have, many different cancer-causing chemicals. So
nicotine is only one chemical.
Nicotine is a single chemical. Now, if your assertion that nicotine is carcinogenous, and it may have some carcinogenic properties, but studies not performed by our government, by other governments, have stated that that's... there was an interesting point that I read, and the point was this: we need to stop demonizing nicotine. And the point is, we have to, if you're going to demonize something, demonize the delivery mechanism of burning up tubes of dry leaves into your lungs.
That's true.
And I don't know if it's true. I only can go by what I've read, what I've self-educated. But the idea that, for me, I smoked for 35 years. It's a disgusting habit. Every day I was sorry I ever took it up, but I couldn't quit it. It's an addiction.
Very hard to quit.
It is.
Yeah. And, it makes one of the things that I love about vaping as opposed to smoking is now when I'm home in Michigan, I can go sit next to my mom on the sofa and watch a whole TV show and talk to her during the commercials instead of being outside smoking a cigarette.
Right.
That is really nice. Or being able to do this show without running outside to do a cigarette every station break.
Yeah. And I guess, from my point of view, I've decreased my nicotine in the vape juice that I happen to use. Mm-hmm. Their scale is, I went from a 50 to a 35. Mm-hmm. That's been the first step I've taken. So I've taken something off of, a full rush hit of nicotine down to, not quite half, but I'm going there. Maybe next year I'll take another drop.
You went from 50 to 35?
Yeah.
So, that's a 40% drop.
Good.
Yeah.
To cut down a little bit.
And what it does is it eliminates part of the thing that's got me addicted. Now, my goal eventually is, I want to be off of nicotine entirely. I don't want to have one thing running my life. But with vaping, if it is truly a 95% reduction in harm, I figure I've bought myself some time.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, you make some good points. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thank you for calling. That's what it is, and that's what the British are pursuing. It's not about, trying to alter people's minds by draconian measures. They know that when they outlawed, and it's prohibition. It's no different than what we did with booze in the 1920s and the 1930s. It didn't work. All you created was a huge black market.
And it's not partisan either. Both sides are crying for the nanny state. The Democrats and Republicans working together because, their owners want us smoking cigarettes.
Well, and it amazes me because I spent a long, long time as a card-carrying Republican, and I was active for a lot of those years, and I'm not necessarily proud of it, but it was just part of who I was. But the idea, I think Republicans created the term nanny state as a derisive term to describe Democrats who really wanted to control lots of aspects of their lives.
But yet the Republicans want a nanny state just as much.
And they are pushing
They want
harder.
it on abortion and sex and a lot of other things.
Right. And, it's one of those things. And this vape ban that Trump proposes and is trying to enact is exactly a nanny state. It is the very definition of a nanny state. Do we have any nanny state, pro-nanny state Republicans? I'd love for them to call in. Tell me why your nanny state is going to be better than the Democrat nanny state. We're going to stay on the phones where we've got Jimmy in Illinois. Jimmy, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind? Yep, looks like we dropped him. But this idea,
Jimmy.
I know. But this idea that you can act like a tyrant when your team is in power. Trump, he's our tyrant, so it goes. It's fine.
It's not my tyrant.
Exactly. Even though, we are the Republicans claim to be the defenders of the Second Amendment, and God forbid, Barack Obama, he was going to ban all these guns, and how long did it take before we got the bump stock ban? Which turned a firearm accessory magically by waving a government wand over a piece of plastic, over a firearms accessory, turned it into a machine gun, and then the government says we can now regulate that because that's a machine gun.
And technically, I think rubber bands are also machine guns.
Well, yeah, you can train how to bump fire. I mean, that's pretty easy. You don't even need a rubber band. Rubber band makes it easier, though. But yeah, so what's next, Mr. Trump? Are you going to ban fingers? Are you going to ban rubber bands because they could be used to bump fire? Yeah. It's insanity.
And I'm the opposite of you. I come from the left, and my father was Democratic, but guns for me were always a no-brainer because I spent a year and a half in a military academy, and my ex-military tactical officer explained to me why we had a Second Amendment. He said the Second Amendment exists so they can shoot us, meaning military and law enforcement, if we get out of hand.
Wow. 855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. 855-450-3733. That's the number to get on the air and tell us what is on your mind. What's on my mind is our amplifier program. Are you
amped about it?
I am amped about our amplifier program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's a way that we allow our fans to kick in a little bit to help us do that, advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. The idea is the more radio stations we're on, that means the ideas of liberty can reach that many more people. And I got to say, Free Talk Live was the first liberty-based radio program I ever heard. I had no idea something like this existed. I found it on Roku, of all the weird things. That's how I found it, and I've been a fan ever since.
First time I ever heard Free Talk Live, I was actually a guest.
Really?
Yeah, it was the night I got arrested after the first time at the 420 rally. I was on the show, and that's the first time I ever heard it.
See, you get arrested, you get press.
It's true.
I want to thank an amplifier.
If you don't get arrested, you get depressed.
Exactly. I want to thank an amplifier, Amos Stackler. He is a gold amplifier. That means he's pledged to donate $10 a month. And that is much appreciated by everyone here at Free Talk Live. So thank you, Amo.
And we should probably pitch also, hey, if you've heard about my legal troubles and my recent fights and you're saying, how can I help out a little? There's also, is it tip or tips.freetalklive.com?
There is, and they can also join us on...
Which one is it?
I don't know.
Could you check with the browser? Because you have one.
I will. You can also join us on Discord, and in Discord, you can leave specific tips for specific hosts right there in the Discord app. You can find out more at discord.freetalklive.com. So I found kind of an interesting, I will get back to you with that link, an interesting story that I've always suspected, but I never really had anybody come out and say it. This comes to us from Forbes. New study shows that college and high school graduates earn about the same. And that probably shocks and bewilders a lot of people with college degrees. An alarming yet
even people with degrees in economics, unless they've also studied the Austrian school.
Exactly. An alarming yet illuminating new study conducted by Third Way, a Washington, D.C. based think tank, concludes that college graduates only earn the equivalent salaries of high school graduates, contrary to popular opinion, which contends that the path to success is rooted in attaining a college education. The frightening findings indicated that half of U.S. colleges in 2018 churned out a majority of graduates that earn under $28,000 a year.
How is that possible?
In past generations, primarily the upper-class wealthy elites attended universities. After World War II and the passing of the GI Bill, soldiers returning from the battlefields were offered financial assistance to attend college, and they did so in large numbers. Slowly over time, in the ensuing decades, enrollment in college became almost commonplace for the average American. Today, there is a great pressure put on high school students to attend universities, even if they lack the aptitude or the interest. Sometimes the pressure exerted on kids to attend top-tier institutions is intense. This was clearly exemplified by the recent college admittance scandal, which the rich and famous parents allegedly bribed school officials to get their children into Ivy League and top-tier universities.
We should probably mention the economics of this is really fascinating, and it illustrates how the lack of economic literacy in government causes them to adopt strategies that have the opposite of their intended effect. What happened is all of the schools, well, first off, it became a mark of quality for a school to have more of your students go to college.
Right.
So that became regarded as an end in and of itself by school administrators and teachers, because they wanted their schools to look good. So they encouraged everybody by hook or by crook to go to college, whether they need it or not. They said it's the only route to success. They said it's always worth it, even if you pick a stupid major like, feminist dance theory or gender studies or underwater basket weaving. And so all of these herds of kids went to school. Well, now people with history degrees, people with English degrees, people certainly with feminist dance theory degrees are a dime a dozen,
right?
And there aren't enough jobs for them. Meanwhile, the jobs that are going begging are plumber,
right,
and carpenter, and things like that, the things that the government pushed us away from.
Right.
So they deform the economy, and now a lot of us can't get a plumber. We can't get the people that we need, and we would gladly pay that English major to fix our sink if he only knew how.
But he doesn't.
But he doesn't know how. And this combined with the economics of it is so much like the housing boom, where they pushed housing prices up so high that nobody could afford to buy a house. Nobody could afford to live in a house that they had bought. And then, of course, because the prices could not be paid long term, the market crashed. And that's exactly what's happening with the education movement. Now, Bernie says what we should do is cancel all the student banks or all the student loans. But what that's going to mean is the government pays the banks for all these bad loans we made. Another
No. Government doesn't pay off bad loans or anything like that Wall Street assumed or that people have taken out. the taxpayers pay for those.
Well, they will also rob us.
Yes.
But they will make the banks whole. So it becomes another bailout to people who failed to predict the future economy, the future behavior of the economy. What should happen is they should eliminate the bankruptcy exemption for student loans. And if you took a student loan and you're bankrupt, you should be able to declare bankruptcy and discharge that loan like any other. The bank should get nothing if you are bankrupt. And if too many students go bankrupt, the banks themselves should in turn go bankrupt, because that means they've done more harm than good.
That they do. We're going to go to the phones where we've got Mike. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, you guys, I want to talk a little bit about my county and their needle exchange program. Now, I grew up in the same town long before Kurt Cobain did.
Hey, Mike, we're gonna if it's okay with you, I'm going to put you on hold, and we're going to pick you up after this.
Sorry, bro.
I'm all for needle exchange programs. I don't know what his point. He may be completely against it. 855-450-FREE. What do you think? I don't even know what he's going to say, but are you for or against needle exchange programs? I think they save lives. This is Free Talk Live.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Dynavite for life.
Pick up 2 tubes of Dogosuds.
Get the 3rd tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Dogosud shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe. Great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Dogosuds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. 855-450-3733. That's the number you can call and get on the air and talk about what you like. This is Open Phones Radio. There is no topic. It isn't like those Democrat and Republican, liberal and conservative radio shows you might have heard.
Excuse me, Dumb and Dumber.
heard where you can only talk about the subject at hand. We go all over the board, and that's because people say what's on their mind.
After you've done that?
Right. They say what's on their mind and what interests them, and that's what we do. We listen to our callers. And we've been talking, we were talking about college and how the average college graduate now makes as much as the average high school graduate, which kind of does something to that whole theory of if you really want to make the big money. And there are jobs where you can make tremendous amounts of money by assuming tremendous amounts of debt. If you want to be a doctor, if you got the aptitude, you're going to make a ton of money, but you're going to graduate under a huge pile of debt. Now, if you decide you want to be a plumber, you can probably get on-the-job training and get an apprenticeship, and you're going to make more than that plumber for at least more than that doctor for at least 10 years, while he's getting paid $35,000 if he's lucky. While he's doing his internship, you're going to be making $80,000, $85,000, $100,000.
And all of that stuff, that extreme stuff that people have to go through to become doctors. You have to do an internship where you're working like 120 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
As a stress test. Well, guess what? Country doctor doesn't have to do that. Right. Country doctor never has to work. He can work 9 to 5. He doesn't have to be a Superman. He doesn't even have to be brilliant, because all he has to be able to do is treat the common things that he sees every single day. And when he sees something that's uncommon, he has to be able to recognize it and say, this is beyond my ken. I'm sending this guy to somebody else.
Right.
I'm sending him to one of the genius doctors because he's got something weird.
Right. We're going to go back to the phones where we've got Mike calling in from Washington State. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. Welcome back.
Thank you. So like I was saying, I grew up the same place Kurt Cobain did, but can I say that the town should really be known for something much more important than him?
Okay.
That is Metal Church.
Which
because
town is
I
it?
played Pee Wee League, Aberdeen, Washington.
Yep.
Okay.
And anyway, we have a really bad heroin problem there. And I do not live there now because I have to attend the Seattle VA all the time due to an amputation. So I have to stay on the other side of Seattle. So I unfortunately can't be in that town. But this needle exchange program, I'm all for it. I do believe in it. I have friends at the VA that are addicts, and they come there and get everything they need. But our county recently extended the needle exchange program, and they got $52,000 from the general fund on a grant. They use this old motorhome, blah, 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 all this stuff. But there's a lot of controversy, and people are questioning why it is we have 5 to 7 Suboxone, methadone clinics in places that addicts can go. The county will not let go of those needles and that Narcan stuff.
Huh.
And now a neighboring county actually gives Narcan classes at the bus station, and they want you to have that in your backpack because you are more than likely going to run across somebody in your travels that is knotted out, and that way you can save them. Now, the county wants the police to be called and let them come and do it, but they won't let these other clinics or anybody else pass these needles out. And I don't think the $52,000 grant is enough money to make them that stingy. I think there's more to it. And the product is free.
Right.
Right.
So they're like doing this. Something's not right with that. I just can't believe there's got to be a reason. And I just don't understand politics enough.
Subjugation and control, I think, are your reasons. They want to subjugate and control the people. And in order to do that, Ayn Rand in Atlas Shrugged, have you read it?
No, but I want our county commissioners come on KBKW all the time, and they say things and they don't think. But today one of them was on there, and that's what brought this up, and mentioned that they want to make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Now, why would the county want another problem and another can of worms on their hand in the first place? They got enough with the homeless and all these problems there.
Yeah, they've got plenty of things to do. And churches will do needle exchanges.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that's just what I was kind of stirring that pot, because there's got to be more to it. And people that know more about county government that might know the answer, but I don't think it's the $52,000. It's not that much money.
Right.
They all make a lot of money.
Somebody's probably getting paid off another way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hey,
anyway, thank you for letting me bring that up, and go Metal Church. You should use it for bumper music once in a while.
I'll remember that.
Groovy.
Hey, Mike, thanks for the call.
If you're on Discord, send me a link.
Excellent. So it's interesting because those are issues that I'm not a heroin user. I'm not an opiate user. Nobody in my immediate family is an opiate user. But I do want people who have a disease to get better, and that goes towards, Suboxone clinics and things like that. It's been said that for people to try to get off of opiates, you can't just cold turkey, just statistically just doesn't work. They got to kind of be eased off of it if they're going to make a go of it. Now, you may disagree. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, that's not what methadone clinics do, and it's not what Suboxone clinics do. I know people who have been going to methadone and Suboxone clinics for years, and their doses keep getting increased.
No, I didn't say that they're being run well. They're being run by the government.
Well, the thing is, it's important to understand the economics of it, because basically the only thing that happens, Suboxone and methadone are both more addictive, more difficult to withdraw from than heroin. So why is the government so hot to make sure that people do Suboxone and methadone instead of heroin? Well, the answer is very clear. If you do Suboxone and heroin, your money goes to Big Pharma. Or I'm sorry, if you do Suboxone or methadone, your money goes to Big Pharma. If you do heroin, it goes to a different drug cartel. And in case you missed that insinuation there, yes, I am saying that Big Pharma is a drug cartel. They are cartelized by the government. Their soldiers are the DEA and the FDA, and they kill people to protect their territory, they don't care whether their medicine is better than ours or not.
Well, while the heroin trade is protected by U.S. Soldiers, correct?
It is also protected by U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, where, they have orders not to burn the crops. Well, what are the crops? They're weed and heroin. Now, I certainly think it's wonderful they're not burning the weed.
So let me take a step back. I said, most people will say that Suboxone and methadone are easier ways to get people off. Let me rephrase that because I'm going to use the words of a really good book I read on the topic. It's that assist people that go into a rehab center if they don't have something to assist them. They called it medically assisted, recovery. They're not going to be as successful as those without. Now, I don't know, what your definition of medically supported or medically assisted. I think it could be smoking pot too while you're trying to come down off of heroin.
Well, that's the thing is when I was selling weed, one of my policies was, I knew who the junkies were, and I would tell them, if you ever decide to get off heroin and you need to come by here and smoke with me free, I will smoke with you all day. And people took advantage of it, and it helped. The other thing is LSD. I literally got myself addicted to crack and then unaddicted to crack by using LSD.
So what do you think? Do you think that addiction is solely on the person? Should they just be able to stop taking it and get it over with? 855-450-FREE. This is free. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That is our toll-free number. If you jump in right now, you could still get on the air. This is our final segment. But we've been talking about addiction, and we were talking during the break a little bit.
Let me put in a pitch here before we say anything. If you're listening to this and you're in New Hampshire or you're connected to me on social media and you've got a chemical dependency issue and you want to talk about it, feel free to call me. I'm a priest. Spiritual counseling is free. And there are solutions to your problems, and you are not alone. So reach out, please, if you need to.
Thank you. And I'm sure somebody out there could use your help, and I hope they take advantage of it.
I hope so, too.
So I was talking to nobody a little bit about the Sinclair method, and you had not heard of the Sinclair method.
No, I hadn't. This is new. This is all new to me.
So a doctor in Finland, he bred a few generations of extremely alcoholic rats. He made sure
he bred them to be alcoholic.
Yeah, and he had a lot to experiment with. But
see, that's very important to the disease concept, that you can breed rats to be alcoholic, because that means it has to be genetic.
Does it?
It does.
I'm not sure how he did it, but basically...
If he bred them to be alcoholic, he had to... breeding only affects DNA.
And I can't speak for his exact methods or how he ended up with all these alcoholic rats. But his theory
Maybe he
was...
just had a lot of house parties and didn't throw people out in between.
That's it. But his theory was there's got to be something, because alcohol in and of itself is not addictive, right? It's not because if you have one drink, there's lots of people. I don't drink all the time, but there have been times, for example, when I was in the military, they said, alcohol takes 24 hours to leave your system. After I got out of basic training, I can tell you alcohol never left my system for 3 more years, because I was always drinking. And a lot of people were like that. They binge drink or whatever, but they don't become alcoholics. Why don't they? Sinclair's research pointed to a different cause of addiction. It was this: when people drink, they get a rush of endorphins into their system, and the endorphins are one of the things that make you feel good and make you feel happy.
Those are nature's painkillers, right? That's what you get when you exercise?
Exactly, and you can get addicted to that because it affects you much like an opiate does. So the idea was this. He's like, let me experiment with this. Let me give these rats a opioid inhibitor, something that will block the endorphins from being able to connect in the brain. Mm-hmm. And what he found was that as he gave these rats opioid inhibitors, notably naltrexone, they gradually quit being alcoholic rats. What this led to was the Sinclair method. The idea is this. If you know you're going to drink and you're an alcoholic, about 45 minutes before you do it, you take a naltrexone pill. Now, naltrexone it's not, Narcan or anything like that, even though it acts very similarly.
It actually is very similar to Narcan. It's not quite the same drug,
right,
but it's very close to the same thing.
It's also been on the market for decades and
decades. Yeah, it's older.
Which means it's cheap. And it doesn't cost much to buy. The idea was this. You take one 45 minutes before you drink, let it get into your blood system, and then you have to drink. Then you're drinking. Mm-hmm. And then
slowly. Is it like drink as much as you can,
no,
or just have at least one drink?
Whatever you
would normally do. Don't try to control the drinking. Just take the Narcan first.
Take Narcan or naltrexone first and keep doing that. Log how much you're drinking if that's fine. But slowly this led to people drinking less and eventually not having the desire to drink because they weren't getting the carrot. There was no Pavlov's dog. They didn't get the reward they were anticipating. And gradually
so they deprogrammed their brain.
They deprogrammed.
If you ring the bell and you don't feed the dog will stop drooling when you ring the bell.
So
you'll de-Pavlov your dog.
Right. This is the most common treatment in many European countries for alcoholism, and its success rate, according to government sources, is 85 to 88% success of curing alcoholism. Now, I guarantee you most people have never heard of this, but research
I had never heard of it, and this is a big issue with me, so I look into alternatives for alcoholism and opiate addiction.
And we talk about opiate addiction a lot on this show, but alcoholism and alcohol addiction brings a much higher price tag if we look at things economically, a much higher the level of harm caused by alcoholism exceeds that of anything else.
What we used to say in AA is that drugs build better bottoms. And what that means is if you get turned on to cocaine or heroin, few years, you're either dead or sober. If you start drinking, you might be 60 before you get straight. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't ruined your life. So you hear a lot of people coming into AA at 60 saying, oh, my God, I wish I'd come here at 20.
Right.
The problem is they weren't ready at 20. Alcohol is a slow, slow poison.
The idea behind the Sinclair method is to exceed that. Now, keep in mind, for this to work, according to Dr. Sinclair, you have to drink. You take the pill, but you got to drink. You got to keep drinking. You got to find out that when you drink alcohol, you don't get that rush of endorphins. Your brain no longer gets the ringing bell. It doesn't get anything out of it, and that's what gradually decreases. As a result, Sinclair method, 85, 88% success rate compared to AA or 12-step programs in general, which seem to, according to the specs, 15 to 20% at the top of success rate of curing people. So I'm not saying
there is no cure in AA.
Well, that's
don't
what they
cure
teach you.
Anybody.
That's the other thing about the Sinclair method. They don't demonize it. It just is what it is. There's
no
reason
you say that alcoholics are cured by the Sinclair method if they start drinking without taking the naltrexone, do they then relapse into their alcoholism?
It's likely that they would, and that's why it's interesting. Some of the stories he talks about a bartender, in South Africa, who drank himself, to unconsciousness every single night, whiskey, but he got a little charm made for around his neck. He keeps a naltrexone pill in there just so, if I am going to drink, I just pop one of these and, I might have. And that's the other thing. You're telling alcoholics that you can continue to drink socially. You know, don't be surprised if after a couple beers, you're probably not going to feel like drinking anymore.
See, the funny thing is I used to consider myself an alcoholic, and I was definitely a major problem drinker. Today, I get bored with alcohol after 2 beers, and I think that's because of the weed that I smoke, because that keeps me from being in that place where I want to escape my life and escape consciousness.
Right.
It takes the edge off the pain of life, and sometimes life is painful without rendering me useless. I mean, Mark used to get upset that I'd smoke weed while I was on the show. And then after a while, he was like, you're no different when you're not smoking than when you are, so I'm not going to give you a hard time about this anymore. Please, watch the video if you're out there. It's a TED Talk. It's called Everything You Think You Know About Addiction Is Wrong. And there's a book that you should read after the TED Talk. It's by the same author. It's called Chasing the Scream. And it talks about a very important experiment called Rat Park. The original experiments where they found how dangerous heroin and cocaine were, they kept these rats locked in cages by themselves with nothing but a bottle of heroin or cocaine, and they killed themselves with it. Well, in Rat Park, they took the same number of rats, but they put them all in the same cage.
Socialization.
They mixed the genders, so they had lots of rat sex, and they gave them rat toys, and they just had a great rat time. And they had the heroin and the cocaine available to them, but they did not use it to excess, and they did not die. So when you're asking yourself about addiction, ask yourself, why do people want to escape their lives?
Yeah, and I think that's key. It's there are ways that people could try to reprogram their brain. That's what you're doing in any recovery. But the idea that some of these systems that are used so successfully overseas, we just can't have because that doesn't fit our idea and our mold of what the programs are.
Well, maybe my church will take it up and call it spiritual healing.
That's all the time we have for you tonight, but we'll be here tomorrow night because we're here every night. Free Talk Live is always live and always here for you. Thanks for joining us. This is Free Talk Live.
I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet.